Well, thank you for joining us for the webinar on email marketing, expanding your business reach, creating forever clients. As there was a bit of a confusion over the correct Zoom link to use for today's webinar, we'll give you everybody a little extra time for participants to log in. So to give everyone a chance to get here, we'll just begin in a couple minutes. So before we start, you can grab some water or coffee and we'll just begin in a little bit. During the webinar today, we'll be conducting a poll to get an idea about our attendees' current email marketing efforts. So please take part in the poll so that our speaker, Bob Rogers, can see how best to help you and we can learn a bit about each other. Also, when you sign off on your browser today, there will be a special drawing to receive free group counseling on what we reviewed today. And a handful of clients will be selected. And so if you're interested, simply fill out the group counseling evaluation form and you'll automatically enter your name. I'll mention this again later on in case some others have not yet had a chance to log in. Okay, well, I guess we can go ahead and start. Welcome to our session on email marketing, expanding your business reach and creating forever clients at the Small Business Development Center at CBP, a sponsored program of the Mason Enterprise Center at George Mason University. My name is MJ and I'm here to get the webinar started. In this webinar format, we will not be able to hear you. However, if you have a question at any point during the meeting, you can type your question in the Q&A box and we'll periodically present your question to Bob when there's a pause in the presentation. If you'd like to speak using your microphone, you can raise your hand and we can let you speak your question to Bob. We'll stop throughout the presentation to answer questions, but it may not be right away. So please type your questions with enough context so the instructor can follow up afterward as needed if we don't get them addressed during class. So now we want to learn more about our audience today, and to do so, we're going to take a quick poll. Please select a response from the options provided on your screen and then submit your responses. Go ahead and launch the poll. So the first question is, how long have you been in business? Second is, how many employees do you have, including part-time? Third question, when was the last time you updated your website? And do you use social media to connect with your target audience? And lastly, have you used email marketing in the past? Just be sure to answer all the questions so that you can hit the submit button. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. 3, 2, 1. And I'll share the results. Looks like 63% have been in business for 2 or more years, 13% for 2 years or less, and 25% for 1 year or less. In terms of how many employees do you have, including part-time, 13% said 10 or more, 25% 5 to 10, 13% 2 to 5, and 50% 1 to 2. When was the last time you updated your website? 88% said less than 2 years ago, and then 13% have not updated their website. Looks like 88% do use social media to communicate with their target audience, and 13% said they didn't. And then if you have used email marketing in the past, 63% have said yes, and 38% said no. Okay. Well, thank you for taking part in the poll. Lastly, at the end of our session today, when you sign up on your browser, there'll be a special drawing to receive free group counseling on what we reviewed today. A handful of clients will be selected, and so if you're interested, simply fill out the group counseling evaluation form and you'll automatically enter your name. Now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Bob Rogers. Bob started and ran a government contracting business for 30 years, which he sold in 2015. He was number 250 of Inc. magazine's top 500 rankings of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States. He's one of our $100 million in government contracts, and WSI Digital Solutions is his fifth business. He has a BS in engineering from the United States Air Force Academy, an MBA from Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, and is an OPM graduate of Harvard Business School. He was also the Dean of Business for Stratford University and an adjunct professor at Northern Virginia Community College. You can get more advice and tips on social selling and digital marketing by following Bob's company page on LinkedIn, and I'll share that contact information in the chat. Bob will be speaking today until 2 p.m., and I'll turn it over to him now.
Great. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Thank you, MJ, for that wonderful introduction. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' Digital Neighborhood. I'm Bob Rogers, and today I'll be speaking to you about email marketing and newsletters and how they build long-term clients. First, I want to thank you for attending the online session. There are more events than time for you to participate before the pandemic. And now after the pandemic hit, we're just deluged with requests to participate in free webinars every day. So you could have chosen many options to spend your time, but you decided to be with us. So on behalf of the Small Business Development Center, we thank you. And also I'd like to express my appreciation to Vijay Vaswani, who is the director of the SBDC here in Northern Virginia, for the opportunity to speak to you today. And again, I'd like to remind you to put your questions in the Q&A box, and I will stop during the presentations, periodically during the presentation, so that we can answer the questions. All right, so let's get started. How does email marketing work? Well, as you can see from the slide, email marketing is a process of targeting your audience and customers through email. It helps you boost conversations with valuable information to help achieve your goals. Email marketing is just one of the many methods to reach your target audience. This definition comes from HubSpot, one of the leading organizations espousing the inbound marketing philosophy. This digital marketing philosophy emphasizes generating helpful content to your target audience to lead them down the buyer's journey to purchase goods and services. Time doesn't permit me to go into all the detail about inbound marketing, although my company is a big proponent of inbound marketing. However, I did place in the chat a link to a HubSpot blog on this subject. And we will be discussing the buyer's journey later to fully understand the value of email marketing. Now, the benefits. So to understand email marketing, you essentially need to understand inbound as well. And here are some numbers from HubSpot again. That shows you what email marketing in the world looks like today. 4 billion users, and the people that calculate things such as return on invested dollar for different platforms, email marketing is actually the most profitable way in which to generate leads in out of all the different modalities, including social media and other platforms that you could use, video, etc. It's $36 on every dollar spent. 79% of marketers use email marketing, and 31% of B2B marketers use it. And you can also slide in there B2G, business to business and business to government. B2C, which is business to consumer, the numbers look like 37%. So whenever I talk to entrepreneurs about the benefit of email marketing, invariably, the first question out of their mouths is, well, isn't that spamming? And my answer is always a firm no. People who use email marketing have given it, some people who've used email marketing have given it a bad name because they don't really understand the basic principles, or they don't care and will send emails out anyway to anyone. And the people in the first category should really take this course to learn the best practices of how to use this very, very powerful tool. And people in the second category should read what's known as the Can-Spam Act. And its formal definition is the Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003. And they've given the response, Congress gave the responsibility of regulating email marketing to the Federal Trade Commission. This law sets rules for commercial email. It establishes requirements for commercial messages. It gives recipients the right to have you stop emailing them, and it spells out tough penalties for violations. One of the ways you can easily violate this law is to purchase an email list. Individuals receiving unwanted emails from you could easily flag them as spam. And also, if very few people who are on the list know who you are, they're pretty much unlikely to even open the email, or certainly won't, and they're unlikely to buy your goods and services. So you really are wasting a lot of money. So let's explore the right way to use email marketing and to form lasting relationships with your prospects and your clients. Okay, so there are 3 pillars to this whole process. You can see them very clearly there. First, you build a contact list. Second, you create high-performing emails. And then third, you analyze your work so that you can make adjustments to become even better at what you're doing. Now, having a great contacts list is really the foundation of email marketing, and actually it's the foundation of a lot of marketing. But for email, it's absolutely essential. However, before we get into the specifics of email, I really need to talk to you about the buyer's journey. The buyer's journey is an active search process someone goes through leading up to a purchase. There are 3 stages to this process. First, there's the awareness stage, when your prospect is experiencing or expressing symptoms of a problem opportunity. This stage is the ideal point for them to discover your digital marketing content. You may not be able to know when this opportunity is forming with a prospect, but having it prepared in advance gives you an edge on your competition. The consideration stage is when your prospect is clearly defined and given a name to the problem. You may see this in the form of a search query on Google, like on a social media post, or a visit to your website services page. If you are a government contractor, you may see something called an RFI, request for information. The government's trying to gauge industry interest in a potential solicitation that they're thinking about putting out. So you should always respond to these requests. It's also an ideal time to start targeting your digital marketing campaign to give the customer the idea of what you're capable of doing. Then the last one is the decision stage. When your prospect has decided on the solution to the strategy, method, or approach. For example, the prospect may ask you for a demonstration, they may ask you for a reference, or they may ask you to give them or send them samples of your work or your past performance. It generally means that the customer is ready to issue, if you're a government contractor, a solicitation. So I've given you a little bit to think about here. So I'm going to pause, take a drink of water, but I want to encourage each of you to think about your questions as we go through this. And if you have a question, write it down so you don't forget it. And if you think, oh, I don't really want to take the time to write a question because it's somebody will think it's not germane, or it's just my personal problem and that doesn't relate to everybody else. Chances are, if you have a thought about your business, somebody else has the same thought. So take a moment to take advantage of asking a question. I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. Okay. So first thing is building your context. There are many ways to build up your context. If you Google the word list building, which is the process of putting together your contact list, you'll get 4.7 billion results. Even HubSpot has a blog on the first page of Google on this subject. However, I'll try to simplify this whole process into 3 digestible pieces. First, start with the people that you already know. Start with your current contacts. Second, use techniques in networking to increase your contacts. Third, use social media to stay in contact with your contacts. Before I continue, I want you to know that we discussed networking during our March webinar in this entire series, and we had 3 workshops on the subject. So we already have a lot of content on this, and if you want copies of it, please feel free to contact the SBDC office, which I will have a slide for you of the contact information at the end of this presentation. So, current contacts. The first task is to look at your current electronic Rolodex, whatever that is, Outlook, whatever you use. I use Outlook. And see who are good candidates that might be included on your list. Please understand that this doesn't need to be a potential customer. However, it needs to be someone who is an influence in your target market or who might introduce you to prospects and other influencers. Let me give you an example. Prior to the internet, when I started my business, I started a government contracting business, which you've heard, which I ran for 30 years. And I met with any and everyone I could possibly think of. This included small business owners, large business owners, bankers, lawyers, college professors of business, the Small Business Administration, local politicians, and I even went up and talked to my congressman about it. I wanted to know as much as I possibly could. And I always asked them the same question. Besides the information that you're giving me, who else do you know who can help me out to figure out how to start a business? And so I gathered a wealth of information which helped me find the right people to connect. Well, the same is true today, except we have potent digital marketing tools like email marketing, social media, and websites to help us connect with people. Using these tools to find trade associations and other organizations that will really help you develop your presence. Never miss an opportunity to communicate with people at work as well. If you're working in a job, if you have a house of worship, don't be bashful about doing that. You will be surprised the number of entrepreneurs in your house of worship. And make sure you attend social media events. If you go through your high school or college alumni associated directories, you may find someone you know. All these directories now are online, and it shouldn't take you any time at all to come up with about 15 or 20 within 15, 20 really good contacts within the first month. So networking. I'm going to rely heavily on the remarks that I made back in February when we called this webinar, the 5 Keys to Successful Networking. I believe these techniques will give you the best chance of developing meaningful contacts on your list. So the first is determine your target audience. Your target market combines your customers, your prospects, your competitors, and the influencers in your industry. Then you want to decide on which events to attend. You can't attend them all, just like we talked about at the very top of this webinar. Choose the events where your target market is likely to hang out. Trade associations, business groups like the Chamber of Commerce, or community-based organizations are a great place to network and get to know key contacts. Now, here's a little pet peeve that I have. Many entrepreneurs think they do not have enough time to volunteer for these types of organizations. My experience is that I have met the best mentors, investors, business partners while serving on boards of nonprofits. Most of my community-based organizations most community-based organizations are really eager to have people who are in business and put them in leadership roles. So you come in as someone with valuable knowledge that they need. And you'll often find, quite frankly, the same people who tend to volunteer for nonprofits are also the same people who tend to be in the same trade associations that you're thinking about joining. It's really a small world, ladies and gentlemen. So the next thing is use the best practice at networking. Networking isn't something that people were born with, and I actually address in the full presentation networking for people like myself who are introverts. And it might sound funny to you that I'm an introvert, given that I'm sitting here on the screen, but it's a different process. And just because somebody is an extrovert doesn't mean that they're a good networker. Networking requires some study and some practice. And there are 3 P's that I talk about in the pitch. First is prep, second is percolate, and then last is your pitch. So during the preparation phase, make goals on the number of contacts you're going to meet. The goal is not to hand out 20 business cards, but to make 1 or 2 meaningful connections. Use techniques to make yourself approachable and place yourself in a position to have a conversation with attendees. Most importantly, have a great elevator pitch once you do are asked to explain yourself, and describe how your company helps your customers solve their problems. Don't go into a deep dive about all the things you've done in the past and all the great things that you do. Talk about how your company helps your customers. That's what's really important. In virtual networking, it's a little different. Well, first of all, you can virtual network at any time through asynchronous communication. And again, you should start with the people you know. Join virtual groups with people who share your professional interests and passions. Be helpful in sharing your information in each session. For example, I belong to something called Government Marketing University's Ideation Group. We meet twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday at 9 o'clock. It's an informal group of marketing professionals in the government contracting space, and we only meet for 30 minutes. And we give each other's presentations on topics of interest, and we invite speakers. Sometimes we don't have speakers. We just sit and we just talk, and stuff comes up, and you learn a lot of stuff. You get contacts, and it's sort of a reinforcing group. And I look forward to all the sessions. You also want to stay connected through social media. I'll discuss how to use social media to develop contacts. However, I want you to know that we discussed using LinkedIn's search and social media tools to find and nurture connections in our April webinar. Again, please reach out to the SBDC office for a copy of the webinar. Okay? All right, social media. Social media is one of the most powerful ways to find and stay connected to your target audience. If you are new to building your contacts, make sure you understand that it takes time and effort to create and build a reliable contacts base. On the other hand, social media has created a whole set of options for entrepreneurs to reach potential clients. Referral sources or teaming partners, no matter where they're located. Some companies view this as a threat because they think competitors are going to poach the information. They don't want to put out there too much information about themselves because they're scared that somebody is going to find out. Or they just have the wrong reason, or the wrong understanding of social media. They think social media is something that you do when you want to put pictures of your cats and your dogs, or you want to do a trip or something like that. And they don't understand the power of what social media can do in terms of generating interest. And believe me, if you think just because you're a small company that this only applies to people who are smaller, I have talked to multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs, guys running tens of millions of dollars per year companies, and they don't even want to talk to me about social media. It's really strange, very strange. Um, I try to explain to these companies that social media benefits completely outweigh the liabilities. And when they're properly used, social media can help companies in talent acquisition, which is a huge part. How do you get the people you need to even serve the clients you want? Lead generation, coming out and finding leads, and 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 also in the case of building your contacts, which is what we're talking about right here. The most critical social media component is sharing relevant information with your target audience. People want to read and connect with others who have similar interests in what and how to solve their problems and information. They don't want to hear a sales pitch from you. They don't want to hear about how great you are. They don't want to know about what you did. What they want to know about is what they're concerned about is their problems. They're not concerned about your problems. They're not really interested in hearing about your problems. They're interested in hearing about how you can help them solve their problems. So therefore, you want to make sure that you're giving out information that overlaps with your capabilities and what their information is all, and what their problems are all about. Finally, LinkedIn has become so dominant as a professional tool uh, uh, to reach target audience that it's really the number one way professionals do this. It starts with a great profile page, if you want to do it right. And then you complete the professional, make sure you have a professional photo, have an eye-catching background, make sure the title description is filled in, and then there's an about section where you can explain who you are and what you do. Again, I've gone through all of this in a previous webinar, and all I can say to you is that each one of these sections is golden, and you shouldn't waste any of that real estate, colloquially speaking, on your profile. It all should be completed. All right, I'm going to stop for a second to see if we have any questions in the Q&A, MJ.
Yes, we do have some questions. Ed Luzine asks if you recall card scan and what options exist now for scanning and incorporating thousands of business cards into an e-database.
Yes, I am familiar with it. And if you've gotten a business card from somebody, then you have what's called implied permission to contact them. And yes, you should use it. And yes, if you can, after that, upload that into your database or use the database to do email marketing or any other kind of marketing, I think it's very smart. Thank you for that suggestion. Very good.
And Miriam asks, what if our target audience is the government? She said she just started her business and is certified as SWAM recently.
Yeah. Well, as you know, you're talking to a government contractor for many years. So congratulations on starting. Excellent question. Targeting the federal government and trying to get visible as a government contractor starting out is not an easy thing. The first thing, you I'm sure have already filled out your sam.gov, excuse me, information. The next thing you're going to have to figure out is when you did that, you figured out your NAICS code. So you're going to have to find either on the it's under SWAM, but it's still the procurements that flow through every day. Find out where your NAICS code matches up with an agency's needs. Now, every agency in the federal government has what's called an OSBU. It's Office of Small Business Utilization. It's essentially a small business group. And each OSBU is required by law to put out all of the solicitations or all the work that's going to happen for the coming year. So you have a ready-made list of everything that each agency is going to buy. So one of the things that small companies have a difficult time is trying to figure out this huge mass of contracts that are coming out and narrowing it down. But somehow or another, start with one agency, Try to penetrate the OSBU to get them to help you as much as you can, but they're only going to help you if you're prepared. That means that you need to have done your homework, figure out which contracts you're interested in, and explain to them why you can think you can be helpful on those contracts. Also, don't forget about, if you're new to government contracting, don't forget about subcontracting. That's the way I got started. That's the way, quite frankly, most government contractors get started. It's rare that the government is going to give someone who has no past performance a government contract. So teaming with a larger company, particularly if you have a certification, women-owned, veteran-owned, 8A, whatever, HubZone, whatever your certification is, teaming with a larger company is in the bigger company's best interest, and it's in your interest to team with them because they already have the knowledge and the capability, and they should be able to, and they are required to flow down to you the information. So those are my quick tips. If you want to learn more about that, I would sign up for one of our SBDC courses and maybe even some one-on-one counseling, and we can get you started.
Okay. The next question, how do you get someone's attention through email?
How to get their attention?
Mhm.
Well, again, you have to first start small. You have to start with a small group. It's kind of like a pyramid. You start with one or two or three people. It's a good question, by the way. One or two or three people, and those two or three people have to introduce you to another two or three people, and then another, and it kind of grows that way. You follow what I'm saying? Also, if you are active on social media and you start getting likes on your social media and people start reaching out to you and want to connect with you, that also can be added to your email marketing list. So those are two right off the top ways in which to increase your list and how to reach out. But what you don't want to do is go to somebody and buy a list of strangers who you don't know. They don't know anything about you, and start emailing them a bunch of stuff, because there's no connection. There's no reason for them to open the email, let alone do business with you.
Okay. The next question is, what's the best way to represent yourself while networking if you have multiple businesses?
Aha. Well, I guess that would depend on where you're. The first step in networking is to first of all figure out your target audience. So I assume, and I don't know because I don't know your business, but I assume that your business has two different target markets. You have two different businesses, so you have two different target markets. So the next step after that is to select the target markets, that select the events that are where those people in your target markets hang out. So if you now have the people in that target market that you want to talk to, then you are that company that day at that event. And I wouldn't confuse people with two different companies. Okay. Particularly if you're doing it right. You should be in one location where you're doing it. If you come across as somebody who is trying to do two or three things all at one time, then you don't, it's okay to do this. I'm not saying don't do two things. What I'm saying is don't talk to one person and tell them you do two things, particularly if that one person is in only the space of one of the companies. That's the message I'm trying to give you.
Okay. The next question from Marvin says that I find that OSBU relationships are critical. The big question is how to make your OSBU look good.
The way you make, yes, that is true. The OSBU, it's a very good statement. The OSBU's job is to find small businesses that can in fact help perform the mission of their agency. So when evaluation time comes around, and these are all government servants or contractors, And when they get evaluated, what they're evaluated on is the number of companies and the amount of dollars that have been generated by them that the agency has wisely spent on companies like you. So if you do well, the OSBU looks good. But the only way you're going to do well for an OSBU is to make sure before you meet with them that you know what they're looking for. And you say, well, that's like a chicken and egg, Bob. Well, not really. Again, I've told you there's a lot of data out there on OSBUs that you can research before you get there. And I actually do a webinar on this whole thing, and I've written a blog about it. It's very important that you understand how to do that if you're trying to crack into a federal agency.
Okay. And the last question on deck is, how does having a women's owned or disabled veteran owned certification help attract potential customers?
Excellent question. It's gold. Having a certification in government contracting is gold. Not only was it gold before, it's now probably platinum, because since the Biden administration has come on board, they have had a goal to increase the amount of business that federal agencies set aside. This is a target. It's not a it's not a set aside. It's a target. And they've moved it from 10% to 15%. So every agency in the federal government is now scrambling around looking for people who are certified in these categories. And the Small Business Administration is the agency that is responsible for doing this. And the Small Business Agency has a report to give to Congress, and they report on this every year. It's called the annual report, and it's on the SBA website. And by category of certification, such as women-owned, such as veteran-owned, such as service-disabled veteran-owned, such as HUBZone, each and every one of those by federal agency, they give the target, and they give the percentage, and they give the dollar amount, and they give other information on how an agency is doing. So every agency is very, very motivated to do business with companies that have certification. So the answer to your question straight up is it's a good thing. It's a very good thing right now to be certified.
You have time for one more question, Bob? We can wait for the end.
One more, and then we got to roll.
Okay, so last one is, how do we team up with a company through the Gov?
Through the Gov. Not sure what the Gov is, but how do we team up with an agency? Why don't I keep talking, and then at the next break, give me a little bit more information on what that means.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to move on.
I'll follow up.
All right, please follow up, whoever is asking that question. Give me just a little bit more information. All right, so now the next thing is how do you create a high-performing email? All right, so sending an email, checking an email, and drafting email has become a day-to-day part of our lives. I mean, how many of us actually get up and go an entire day and don't either look at our emails or send an email or answer an email? It's a normal part of our routine. We may or may not always check our social media, but we always check our email. And email will continue to play an essential role in our professional lives. For example, Simon Kingsnorth, he's the author of Digital Marketing Strategy, 2nd edition, says about email marketing. The reality is that email marketing remains a potent weapon in the marketer's arsenal, provided it's used correctly. And that's really the key thing, provided it's used correctly. So you need to understand the 4 key factors in order to create a high-performing email. First, you need to select the right goal. Like everything else in inbound marketing, you start with a goal. When setting the goal for your email, you want to consider how to send the correct email to the right person at the right time. Secondly, you want to optimize your emails for conversion. That means you want to take the essential pieces of any email and optimize each piece to drive a conversion toward your set of goals. So you're going to set a goal up, and then you want a certain amount of conversions to hit that goal. And then you want to understand email compliance and its regulations. Understand how to avoid sending email in spam, okay? And then lastly, use an effective email template. Use your attractive email template to send a message. All right, so let's dive into these a little bit. So when setting a goal for your email, you want to consider how to send the correct email to the right person at the right time. In other words, you will need to decide what content you're sending to what segment of context and at what point in time. We can break this down further with the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and most importantly, why. So the who is, who are you sending this email to? Great content to the wrong set of contacts won't add value. Just like the right contacts receiving poor content won't do the trick either. You need to decide who is the right person for this email. Then next is what. What do you want the contacts to do with this email? Are you asking them to sign up for a webinar, download content, or subscribe to your blog? What needs to be clear and quantifiable, okay? So that you know that the email was successful. When refers to a buyer's journey here. Understanding when you need to serve up specific types of content is an essential piece of setting goals. Different content and education will be necessary at various stages for future conversations as the contact moves through the buyer's journey. Where are your contacts going to be reading this email? A cloud-based software company named Movable Ink found in their research, 48% of emails are opened on a smartphone. 41% of the emails are opened on an iPhone. So Movable Ink, so let me be clear. So 48% of the emails are opened on a smartphone, and then within that 48, okay, 41% are on an iPhone. I don't want to give you the wrong impression with the statistics. This is per 2015. Now, I got to believe it's even a heck of a lot more now. So it's essential that you keep in mind the type of device that your contacts will be viewing your email on. And we're going to talk more about this in the future and later on. Now, here's the most important thing. Why? Why is always the most important question for inbound marketing. The whole philosophy is built around asking why. And a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, if you have not heard of him, he's a leading thought leader on this whole thing. He says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if this is true, then deciding why you're sending the email will be a step in the right direction to make sure that your contacts know what you do. Okay, so how do you optimize an email? So here's some examples on the left-hand side of two email campaigns. Optimizing each part of your email to focus on the conversion is the key to creating high-performing emails. With all of the elements aligned and working together, your contacts will be receiving the most value from your emails, and in turn, you will see the most ROI for your emails sent. So we can use the definition of a conversion is the completion of a desired action. Each email you send will have a goal. which is the desired action you hope the contacts are completing. In other words, to optimize for a conversion, you need to have someone first open the email and then compel them to take action. You can't think about, you can think about it as a funnel. Before anyone can click, they have to first open your email. And if the reader doesn't open the email, it's safe to say they never are going to click on your call to action. So let's take a deeper dive into each one of these. So first is the open. Someone needs to open your email. Several things will affect whether or not someone decides to open your email: the subject line, the sender's name, or the preview text. Okay? So your subject line is the door to your email. They first need to enter through the subject line for someone to come in. You want to try to keep this shorter than 41 to 50 characters so that it's easy to read. Then next, you want to have the sender's name. This needs to build trust. The sender's name should be friendly and trusted. Use your name or a name that is that's trusted to your reader. Sending out an email with no reply looks like it's spam. And I don't know about you, but I almost never open up something that says no reply. And then last, you want to have the preview text. The preview text is a snippet or a copy pulled from the body of the email. It's typically displayed underneath the name of the subject line on the subscriber's inbox. You'll use the preview text to continue the theme presented in your subject line. Don't waste this space. Get to the point quickly and amplify your subject line by adding personalized message to show the value of the content inside of your emails. Okay, so we're going to show you a couple of things here. So first of all, let me just see if I can show you what I'm talking about. So the subject line is going to be up here, and then and then this email shows that you have a title, and here's your snippet, and here's your call to action. Now, most marketers, and the same thing goes over here, but most marketers are going to make this live as well so that you can click on any of these and it can turn into a conversion. So let me continue on, show you how it works. So the click. So the click inside your email is to give the readers valuable content, guiding them toward helping them take a specific action, whether downloading a piece of educational content, subscribing to a blog, or signing up for upcoming live training with you and your business. You need to provide value. All these actions fall under the category of CTAs, okay? Calls to action. Right. Calls to actions are usually abbreviated as I said, as CTAs. Hang on a second here, guys. Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay, your call to actions are abbreviated as CTAs. It's an image or a line of text that prompts the visitors to leads and the customers to take action. It's quite literally a call or a call to action. And you can see that on this right here. This button is live, and so is this image, by the way. It's also live. And that's where that's what you want to have happen. And either one of these, either the image or the buttons, will finally get you to open up. You can also use hypertext, hyperlink text on another as another format, and the hypertext will take you your visitors to the desired landing pages, just like the other examples that I gave you. Now, let me show you a template. Now, this is a real template from a real email that was sent out. And it was sent out as a new e-newsletter, and it was sent out in February by a certified public accounting firm. And the thing I want you to completely notice is that this is not your grandmother and your grandfather's emails. Notice how colorful these are. Today's e-newsletters, and I'm going to use emails and e-newsletters interchangeably, should be designed and written to have their readers go from the newsletter to more information on your subject. In other words, you want them to convert, which is what we discussed in the previous section. Conversion, that's what it's all about. There are many email newsletter templates out there. Constant Contact is one of the biggest ones, but you can use MailChimp or any one of them. We're not promoting Constant Contact. However, along with many of the other email marketing services, they have hundreds of these kinds of templates. Pick the one that's most likely to resonate with your target audience. So again, what I'm trying to tell you is if you're just going to open up your email and send it out, you're not going to get the kind of buzz, and you're not going to get the open rates. You're not going to be able to even measure. Whereas if you use a email service, this is going to allow you to create a much more engaging product and also measure, which we'll get into in the next section. First, you should consider creating a newsletter that is branded. This e-newsletter has the same colors, the same logo, and fonts that the company's digital marketing platforms, like their website and their social media. So if you don't want potential clients to see a different logo and a different website, make sure that they're all the same. So what I'm talking about here, I'll use the pointer again, if I can get it to work, is here's a logo, looks exactly the same as others. Look at the green formatting here, look at the text style and the imaging. All of this looks exactly the same as the website, and it also looks the same as the social media. So this e-newsletter was posted by the CPA firm in February, and it's about filing your 2021 taxes and the strategy. So the second thing you should notice is how easy it is to navigate the newsletter. See the eye-catching text, and notice that it's a two-panel on the right-hand side. There's two panels, and there are several green buttons and images that the reader can click on in order to take you from this email to the company's website or to wherever you want to take them. Finally, you can see on the right hand that the e-newsletter is optimized for mobile. And notice that the e-newsletter uses two-column format whose aspect ratio, length versus width, assists with an easy laptop to tablet to smartphone screen. So when you look at this, imagine, for example, if you're reading this on a tablet or laptop, it'll be in two columns. But if you're reading this in a phone, what's going to happen is you're going to see this image followed by this image, then that image, then this image, then that image, because it's too small. It's too large to get all of it in there. And so that's going to be essential for you to have that kind of capability on each one of your e-newsletters. Okay, so I'm going to stop here before we get into analyzing and see if we have any more questions.
Just to follow up, that earlier question was, how do we team up with a company through the government?
It's a good question. The federal government is not going to necessarily help you team with a company. As I explained to you, if you get the ear and the confidence of the OSDBU, they may suggest someone to you. More than likely, what you're going to have to do is all of the things that we've explained to you before. And that's number one, you're going to have to get out of network. The way I was able to get my first teaming agreement with a big firm was joining the Fairfax County Chamber of Commerce and going to their government contracting sessions, passing out cards, introducing myself. And one of them, months later, I had forgotten I even met this company. I get a call out of the blue and they say, hey, are you still interested in staffing military hospitals? And of course, I said, absolutely. And at the time, I had a few small contracts for nothing as big as what they were proposing. And that's what I did when I was a government contractor. I was staff military hospitals with doctors, nurses, and ancillary workers. I did that for 30 years. And had it not been for that break where I got a big company to come in and show me how to operate professionally, introduce me to contacts in the Navy, which I did not have. I had contacts in the Army only and no contacts in the Air Force. I not only got a new service, I got a new client. So it's a gradual, slow process, but you just have to network. You just have to make yourself visible. You have to do all the things that I've explained to you. Don't wait for the government to do anything at all for you. It's all up to you. You have to take the initiative. You have to attend the networking sessions. You have to put out the social media posts. You have to send out the emails to build your contact lists. That's what government marketing is all about. All the things that I'm teaching you here are all the things that I had to do with less tools, to be honest with you, to get contracts to the federal government.
Okay, and there's one more question that just came in. Where can we find networking events for the government and prime contractors?
There are, well, first of all, any chamber of commerce will do it. There's something called AFCEA, is a networking group, something called CCAF. There are, if you go online and just Google government contracting networking or government contracting with prime sub events, there's a flock of these. There's almost one every week. Someone is hosting, either virtually or in person or hybrid. It's really a very vibrant industry once you crack the first one or two times. I know it seems daunting and I know it seems overwhelming at this point, but the only way you can do it is just start to stick your toe in the water. And as for where do you find them, try your local chamber of commerce. I'm trying to give you the easy way. The easiest way is to join your local chamber of commerce. Almost invariably, there'll be a government contractor in there. I know that if you're in Northern Virginia, they have an enormous government contracting section in their chamber. If you live in Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Chamber is huge, has a big set. If you're in the district, they also have big government contract. I mean, this is a government contracting town, so it's not hard to find agencies in which you can network and start meeting people.
Okay, that's all the question.
Okay, so what am I doing on time here? I see we're almost at 2. So we started a little late. I'm going to try to finish this out for you guys very quickly. But even though I'm going to go quickly, I want you to understand analyzing is really, really, really important. And it's not just with email marketing, it's with any channel, whether you're doing social media, whether you're doing website, whether you're doing email marketing, it doesn't matter. The inbound philosophy is all about setting your targets and then measuring against them. You want to analyze your emails because you want to understand what's working and what's not working. And finally, if you do know what's working, you want to increase that. And when it's not working, you want to make sure that you try to move on and do something else. Okay. So uh, uh, if you don't know what you don't know, measuring it is one of the ways to get yourself into a position to know what you need. So let's talk about the key things that are most important for email metrics. You'll always want to review how the email send performed. There are a few different metrics in each email send to look at. This information typically lives in the post send details screen with your email platform. Remember, again, I'm recommending that you use an email platform such as a Constant Content or MailChimp or any of them. It really doesn't matter. They all have backends. I will show you an example of an email performance might look like in just a second. However, let's discuss send, deliver, open, and click-through metrics. So send is the number of emails you send your contacts, okay, or that is in your contacts to be sent. Delivered is the emails delivered and the number that is actually reached their target. This number indicates what happened after suppressions took place. Now, suppressions occur when the contacts unsubscribe. Say somebody decides, well, this is not really for me. I'm going to unsubscribe. Happens to everyone, happens to me. Or the email fails to deliver because the email address was wrong or the contact information is wrong. So therefore it bounced. Now that's your problem. That's on you. So you need to make sure that your contact list is clean. Now the open has to do when you create the email, you took many steps to make sure the content was conveyed and the value you wanted, but you also spent time aligning information outside the body of the email to encourage someone to click and to open, right? So clicking the email is called an open. So you open it up. Now a click through is you move further down and you actually do a conversion. So for example, for this webinar, each of you did a click through. You registered off of an email, and that's called a click through. Or it could be something else. It could be to download a white paper, or it could be to move from the email to the website, or it could be to visit your social media posts. It could be any number of things, but it has to be clearly defined before you get started. So here's an example of an email analysis. Now this is the exact analysis or the same analysis of the email that I showed you earlier from the CPA. Now there are a lot of numbers on this thing, but I just want you to focus on the big numbers on the top. This email was sent to 625 contacts, and actually it was delivered, which is the second metric, to 625. That means that our CPA friend has a really clean list, and she keeps it up all the time. Now you can see there it says open, and the open rate showed that 65.9% of the contacts that she sent this thing to opened the email. That's a big number. That's a big number. That meant she sent the right message at the right time. This is February, so it's getting down to crunch time, and people are interested in what they're going to do with their taxes. So the click-through rate, meaning that they opened the email and now they took the desired action, and the desired action in this case was to transfer to her web page, which had a specific landing page which talked specifically about all the key critical issues with the 2021 tax return, some of the tidbits that you would need. So this is how you produce helpful information to your target audience, build trust, and build the kind of capabilities where people call you first instead of calling someone else. Okay. All right. So that's it, guys. my summary here is that we talked about how does email marketing work. We talked about the benefits of email marketing. And then we took a deep dive into creating your contact list. We did quite a bit on creating a high performing email and some of the granular stuff about how that gets done. And then lastly, we didn't spend so much time on it, but analyzing your emails is really, really important. You just really have to follow up and use what's on the back end of a mail server. Now, again, if you enjoyed what you learned today, but want personalized help in getting started on email marketing, when you sign off here, there will be an evaluation form, and there'll also be a group counseling form. We certainly want to hear from you and fill out the survey and give feedback on today's session. But we're also interested in finding individuals who want to participate in our workshops. And you can see here that we have workshops on the 15th on how to build email marketing lists, on the 22nd on how to create a high-performing emails, on the 29th, how to measure email marketing. So if you missed some of the stuff today or went a little too fast and you want to get more information, there it is. A few things for you to keep in mind. If you do sign up, please make sure you try to attend every session. Be prepared to continue to discuss and share your work with your colleagues. So when you show up, the learning is just as much between yourselves than it is for me standing up and talking. You're not going to be hearing me stand up and talk. I'm going to be encouraging a lot of free flow information. Make sure that you try to do this on a tablet or a laptop or a desktop computer. Trying to do this on a phone, I don't think it will give you the same kind of experience. And then finally, I think I've said all that I want to say there. I'm sorry. Okay, so any last minute questions, MJ?
Someone is supposed to meet with two people at the Chamber of Commerce. She wants to know what she should ask them.
What was the first part about the Chamber of Commerce?
Someone was supposed to meet with two people at the Chamber of Commerce. What kind of questions should they ask them?
If you go to the Chamber of Commerce and you want to join, is that what you're saying? Or you go to an event and you...
Yes, an event. And what should you ask the people at the Chamber of Commerce?
Okay, so you're at an event and what you're doing is you're networking, okay? So the first thing you should do is you should have already researched the event before you got there. So you should know what the event is about, who is likely to be there, try to get names and numbers. You can call the chamber event beforehand, see if they will give them to you. Arrive early, wear comfortable professional clothing, okay? Bring business cards. Put yourself in a position to be seen and be engaged. Don't try to tell your life's history the first time someone says hi, okay? Try to have your pitch ready, but have your pitch have an introductory statement, then wait for your other person to talk, the person you're talking to give them a chance to say what's on their mind, and then you can follow up with the rest of that. This is all covered in our presentation on networking. So networking is a skill. It's not something you just wing, and it takes practice to do it. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. But remember, the target is to find 2 or 3, 1 or 2 meaningful contacts that you can follow up with and stay connected to for a longer period of time. Whether that's a potential customer or somebody who you just like or someone who's an influencer, doesn't matter. But standing there and handing out 20 business cards to strangers and running around the room like a chicken with your head cut off, that's not going to do any good for you. Hopefully I've answered your question there. Again, we have a video on this.
Yes, I just put that recorded webinar in the chat.
Okay, so
networking.
Awesome.
Okay, that was last question.
All right, so All the key content for this SPDC is here on this chart. I always enjoy talking and speaking about digital marketing, as you can tell. However, it's a privilege when I get a chance to talk with business owners such as yourselves on the subject. I want you all to take care, and may God bless you in your entrepreneurial journey. Have a great day.